This is going to be a showcase of the new Northgard map editor, which I am very happy that it's come out. It's very exciting stuff. And at the end of this video, I will be basically giving my opinions on it all, so stay till the end for that. There's many different aspects to this, so I'll be going through them all here. First up is the Factions tab. There's multiple tabs at the top right there, and you'll do different things. First up is the Factions tab. So you can manage or add players and AI, including neutral factions there as well. So as you can see, you can basically assign where you want the town halls of the players to start in the different zones. So you can colonize a zone, and then that will instantly put that player's town hall there. An interesting thing about this is you can colonize adjacent zones to that town hall zone, which allows you to basically expand your borders from the start of the game. Here you can see me colonizing an area for the kobolds, so you can see me put in a whole tile for the kobolds there and their starting location, which puts in, as well as the Jotnar, which puts in all their buildings and a spawn point for them too. Second tab is the zone editor. This is the coolest one. This is the most powerful tool as well. So you can basically left click and right click, either raising or lowering the terrain, which creates more terrain, raises it up, or lowers it down, or depletes it into the water completely, which is very, very cool. And tiles only connect if they're one height apart, otherwise they're blocked off. However, you can click on the intersecting lines to put blocks in, which will be either walls or rivers. And then once you've made all your changes, it will have to do a quick reload, which is very fast, and then you'll be able to go over and see all the changes you've made to that particular area, which is very powerful. It's what's going to be the bulk of the map making. If you don't want to go into all the decor and anything like that, you can just stick with this tool, and you'll be able to make pretty good maps regardless. And as you can see there, that's the little block that I put in, made of the little lake there. You can also reset all the places to put it back, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So now let's go through the places. This is a very powerful tool as well. This is going to be the second main tool you guys are going to be using to make your own maps. Is that you can basically drag and drop or click on the tiles to select the different places you want there, and this includes all the world features and tile-based resources. However, I haven't been able to find fish, interestingly enough, so that's something to watch out for. You can also do spawners, and like for animals and factions like deer and kobolds, stuff like that, and wolves as well. You could do, yeah, that's basically all of it. So as you can see, you can put factions in, you can put resource tiles in, you can also put victory tiles in, and you can design the map around the resources you want. Cool. Fourth up is the buildings. Now this is an interesting one. Very interesting they decided to include this. Is you can basically place buildings around on colonized areas, and they will stay there and be instantly under your control with the upkeep and everything. And they'll basically just be part of your colony. However, on the far left there, you see me put down a woodcutters. Now, if you place buildings down outside of any colonized zone, they'll just start burning, and you'll have to colonize and repair it. Otherwise, they'll just burn out and die. And very exciting thing, that blue, is that a hexagon or is that an octagon? Octagon, I think. Is colliders. So as you'll see me prove later on in this video, units will be able to walk around that. So if you do make like a little decoration, say you make a rock feature or something in the middle of the tile, you'll be able to put a collider around it, and then you won't be able to have units walk directly through it, they'll go around it. And here you can see me just placing down all the different manner of buildings, from, you know, spawners to resources to fertile lands and runes. And an interesting thing about the building placement is you can have different amount of resources on the same tile. Fifth up is units. Now we've got a lot of units here, from civilian units to warband units, as well as specific stuff like war chiefs, and I'm pretty sure there's even Valdemar in here as well, which I do put down for a giggle, and they are all controlled by you if they're in your colony, but I think they're all evil if they're not in the colonized zone, which is pretty interesting. And the enemies as well, very, very expansive. So here you see I've put down a load of warriors, a load more villagers, and the Raven Clan's war chief Liv. And yeah, I even put Valdemar the Curse down somewhere as well. Yeah, there he is, look. Beast of a Draga. I'm going to put some enemies on this tile, just a load of walls, just to see kind of like what that looks like. For some reason you can even put Kaija the bear down from Bear Clan, which I thought was pretty interesting. There you can see all the enemies, all the different types of Jotun. And I don't know what that big fiery Elthur is. I haven't seen that on I've seen it on the Conquest, but I've not actually played one of those missions. But as you can see, the big worms, the big ice worms from the story. That's, yeah. And in terms of the cap, for how many units you can have on a single tile, it seems to be unlimited. And this didn't like crank my FPS or performance or anything. And there's a lot of sheep and Vedrafulnir on that tile, so very interesting to know that they gave you such flexibility with that kind of thing. There's also an option at the bottom to clear all units on that tile. 6th up, and my most anticipated, is that how you phrase that? Most excited for feature was the decoration scenery tab. See myself spending a lot of time in this, as I did on my own map that I created, not this test map. And there's so much to change. So you can change the rotation, and there's a option under that to change the frequency of rotation, like randomize the rotation, so they rotate randomly when placed, which is very good. Same with the scale, you can change the scale, and the bar underneath changes the randomized scale if you're placing more than one object at the same time. And then the brush is there as well, and the one under that would be the thickness of brush, essentially, like how many entities you're putting down with each brush stroke. One thing I will criticize this is that putting down walls seem to be very pernickety. I would say avoid clearing zones completely, and leave the walls in as they are, because they can look pretty bad when player made. Here you can see me experimenting with selecting multiple different things and then brushing over to create this kind of look. In the map editor, however, there is little black bits which are basically just the assets not rendering in properly, but as you'll see later in game, they are completely fine, and they do render in absolutely fine, so that's nothing really to worry about there. There we are. Here we are creating basically just a little wolf's den. Try and make it a bit unique. Put some barrels around it. Perhaps this was a Viking site where they went in and explored the caverns and left their supplies here. Got overrun by wolves. You can create a little narrative to your little areas as well, making it a bit unique, making each map different. And they went all out with the scale. You can make some really silly things if you want to. Here's a little bug that I noticed. There is no option to clear selected decor. You can only clear the entire zone. So as you saw me do there, what you can do is you can place a building on top of the decoration. It should despawn or delete the decoration. Then you can select the building to delete it, and that's kind of like a quick getaway there. But for the most part, it's very pernickety, so make sure you're sure of what you're placing down, because it can be a bit annoying trying to get rid of it sometimes without having to delete the whole tile, which nobody wants to have to do. Here you are seeing me put down a forest, kind of thinning out at the edge, making it really thick and bushy in the middle, selecting loads of different trees, making the brush really big, and randomizing the placement and stuff like that. Here we've got the last panel is the brushes. There's 4 main brushes, and they're different depending on what kind of map you chose. So Meadow is obviously going to be different from Ragnarok, which is going to be different from an icy tundra, or permanent frost or permafrost. So here you see just dark thick green under the trees here, which they actually do in the base game, as you can see me pan over to in a minute. just to add like a bit of darkness under there. The rock tool's a weird one for me. I guess it's very mostly used for clearing up these edges that might have the texture of the grass flowing off the edge. You can kind of clear that up with the rock tool. Maybe give like an outline. I have noticed on the sand it is very sharp. There's no option to change that. It blends very well with the grass, but not so well with sand, as you can see there. Last but not least, there is oh yeah, so you can also kind of click around with a different texture to kind of give it a bit of variation on that texture. Basically, you don't want it to be completely bold as the same color. And then there's also the fill tool as well, which is very nice if you just want to completely change the texture of an entire tile. But of course sometimes it can look a bit bad, so you might need to go around with the rock tool and kind of make that look a bit more natural. Lastly, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you basically in the background a map that I made, which I'm really excited about. Oh no, I'll be doing that after, but first up I'll be showing you guys these mechanics work in the actual video as well, just to prove that it does all work. One thing I've noticed that is interesting is you can't choose the clan. So these two clans were decided in the map editor, and they can't be changed, which is very interesting. So you have to choose one of the pre-decided clans of the mod-made map. And here we are in the game. As you can see, I've got Valdemar the Cursed. Select all my warband, and this is where I put the collider. So as you can see, they won't go in that area. So it does work in game, which is very nice. They won't go in there at all. Got some scouts scouting out, revealing new areas, and there you can see the building burning, as it's not in my area. And all the buildings are fully usable. You can see me put some sailors into that then. And then I'm going to go attack these wolves over here to try and colonize this area and save that building if possible. There we are. Get a villager in there to repair that just in the nick of time. And then we can actually use that in our colonized zone as well. Over here, the giant spawner we put down just started to go into effect, and here you can see all those little black dots fully rendered in game. And there we are. Here we are, and this is basically going to be a showcase of the Valley of Death map that I made myself. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. Let's start with the cons, and then we'll get to the pros afterwards. So individual decoration selection and deletion, I really think needs to be added to the game. It just doesn't seem to be there, and it can be very annoying having to try and place down a building to delete it, or just deleting the whole tile, which no one wants to do. Choosing teams, there's no way of choosing teams or clans as far as I know. In the editor you can make an individual town hall a specific clan, but you can't do it as you're loading into the modded game, which is kind of confusing, as well as teams. However, so I didn't notice an autosave feature either, which is fair enough. It doesn't have to be there, but it would be a nice quality of life addition there. Now let's go on to the positives. So enjoyment, time and detail. As you can see on this map, I spent a lot of time on the finer details, really going in, placing things exactly where I wanted them, making it look exactly how I like. You could do as much as you want as well. You can just use the base tiles if you like. It's easy to look good, it's very seamless. You get very fitting decorations, everything kind of fits and looks like the base game. You get everything from the base game, and you could even make like scenarios and stuff like that. The competitiveness is definitely there. So with the map that you see on the screen here as well, everything's equidistant. I made sure to measure that particularly, so you could make a competitive scene out of this game as well. Kind of like those StarCraft 2 maps where everything is mirrored and symmetrical with resources and everything like that. So yeah, overall I think this is very, very cool that Shira Games did this, especially for free. So props to the developers from that point of view. And I can really see this game kind of blowing up in the competitive scene with this map editor as well. And with the introduction of mods, I think the community are going to do some really interesting and fun things with that. So there we are. That's the showcase in my opinion, and my little map I made there. Hope you enjoyed watching the video, guys. Like, sub if you want to, and I'll catch you in the next one.